I saw a post on worldstarhiphop.com that said this woman sent $2,000 back as a birthday gift because she knows her worth. Well, the real question is, like, who's behind the message? Did you know that in 2019, Media Lab AI acquired Worldstar Hip Hop? They've owned it since then. And Media Lab AI is owned by a guy named Michael Hayward. And they also own Kick and Genius and other media platforms. So you got to understand, like, we're at a point right now that before we even believe what we're listening to or looking at on social media, who's behind the messaging? That's why when we talked about the T app earlier, in earlier episodes, it's like, yo, is this used as a propaganda machine? And a lot of people on my comment, that I commented on WorldStar, and I'm like, yo, and they were like, Isaac, like, you're right. I never thought about it like that. Like, cause the name, even the name was like goofy. The name was like Kavan. Like, I know my worth, Kavan, and it's real N-words out there that are going to give me the bag. I'm like, what does that do except pit black men and black women against one another? And it's on worldstarhiphop.com. And you don't even know, I was like, you can't even tell if the message is real or not. Right. And so we got to figure out if we're being gaslit by, a community to keep us divided.
All right. So you guys heard all that. Okay. Here's the deal. I saw this post and it walks right in line with the whole Anton Daniels, Corey Holcomb debate. If you guys didn't see that debate, it was an entire dumpster fire. It descended into name calling and threats and all of this. But right before it descended into that, Corey Holcomb, a comedian, was trying to get Anton Daniels, a YouTube podcaster and personality, to essentially attack white men. The argument was made that white women are more destructive to America as a whole than white men. But Corey Holcomb wanted to stay on the thought process that white men are the problem. And he directly wanted Anton Daniels to attack white men, not white women, not white culture, not white society, not white policies, but directly attack white men. Okay, here's the reason I bring all of this up. When you read this guy's post, it says, we're at a point right now in social media and media as a whole where we must re-examine who's behind the platforms and pages that appear to represent black culture. That's true. When you dig a little deeper, many of these outlets are owned by white corporations that profit from creating content designed to pit black people against one another. But I'll let you be the judge of that. Okay. What Isaac Hayes III is saying here is that white people are the reason that black people are, being damaged by social media and whatnot. And yes, we can look at BET and we can look at all kinds of forms of media over the years where it was exclusively negative and it was in fact used to harm and destabilize the black community. Isaac Hayes III here, his father famously wrote the bass line. He wrote the song for Shaft. If you guys don't know, look it up. Very famous bass line. His father was a very famous musician before he passed away. And he was heavy in the black exploitation films of the 70s. If you don't know what those are, they were just films that played up black stereotypes, made black people look very, very bad. So yes, there's 100% used to be a time when negative black media was literally made by companies and corporations to harm black communities. So I'm not going to discredit that. What I'm simply saying is in 2026, we have to move beyond that. And the reason we have to move beyond that is because race is no longer the predominant thing. We can almost say that race is not even real anymore. It's about the algorithm. Okay. I want you to think about what this guy is talking about. He's talking about Worldstar Hip Hop. If you remember, Worldstar Hip Hop used to be huge from like 2012 to like 2016. Then between 2012 and 2016, a bunch of black kids got shot by cops. There was a bunch of stuff going on where there was like this awakening, right? This is where woke started to come into the zeitgeist and, get into everybody's lexicon. And people started saying, every time black people do something stupid, they scream Worldstar and then they go do the stupid thing and everybody has cameras out. So Worldstar fell out of favor with a lot of people. There was a lot of protests against Worldstar and it kind of started to die down. I won't even say kind of, it really just died down, which is why, like the guy said, It got bought in 2019. And from 2019, if you remember, from 2019 till now, 2026, a few things happened. One, the red pill took off. In 2018, the red pill was starting to take off, and a whole bunch of people got demonetized. By 2019, Kevin Samuels was taken off with the red pill. By 2022, Andrew Tate had taken it to a whole other level. Now, the red pill it's reached the mainstream. They don't cancel people for talking red pill talking points anymore. Why? It's because it's no longer about men versus women. It's about an algorithm that people can profit off of. Same thing with black people. Black people have this antiquated thought process that everybody is out to get them because they're black, and that if black people were ever to stand up and recognize their true heritage and that they were really kings and blah, 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 if black culture was to ever unify, everybody else would be, they would lose their positions of power or something like that. They have these delusions of grandeur when it comes to the power of black culture. And that might have been true in the past. But currently, it has nothing to do with you being black. It has everything to do with you being a data set. And you have to look at it like that. Even if it is that these people hate black folks, you need to look at it as though money is the driving factor. Why? Because looking at it from the standpoint of race keeps you locked in this cycle of victimhood where you're pointing fingers at the people you think are doing you harm, rather than taking meaningful action steps to escape all of that. If you look at it from the standpoint of money, it's easier to say, I'm not about to let you make no money off of me. I'm not about to pay your bills, right? And here's why I say this. Look at white women. Just like Anton was trying to tell Corey Holcomb, look at white women. White liberal women cannot be helped. They can't be helped. They're too far gone. Everyone knows that they are used as both a political voting bloc and have been since realistically the 60s or 70s. They're used as a political voting bloc. They are used to further many different agendas. I want to say something like 87 cents of every dollar is spent on women or by women in general. So from the standpoint of politics, every politician has a vested interest in appeasing women in general, and white women are the biggest spenders. But then you look at liberal white women, they'll march for all kinds of crazy causes. They'll spend money on all kinds of things as long as you can keep them in this emotional turmoil. So do companies and corporations hate liberal white women, or do they just simply see them as a resource to be exploited for political gain and for monetary gain in terms of social media? Because you got to understand, it's all about a data set. Look at black people. This guy's talking about World Star Hip Hop. World Star Hip Hop is nothing these days. But from the standpoint of the data that World Star Hip Hop can generate on black people, you can get billions of dollars. I won't say billions, but you can get hundreds of millions of dollars. Think about it. World Star Hip Hop is bought by an AI lab research thing, conglomerate. What they're going to do is they're going to put out a BS article, and they're going to put that BS article on Instagram. They're going to put it on TikTok. They're going to put it on Twitter. And what they're going to put it on Facebook as well. And what they're going to do is say who is clicking on the article, who is sharing the article, who is, sharing it through text to their friends, who is making videos on this article. Does our article pop up any place else? They're going to cross-reference all of that. And what they're going to find out, for example, is that on Instagram and on Facebook, people are engaging with it a lot. And then they're going to find out on TikTok, people are not engaging with it. So they're going to say, okay, Instagram, TikTok, or Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, these people are engaging with it, as to where TikTok is not. TikTok is a much younger audience. These other audiences are millennial and up. So what does that mean? They know who to push this article to more. Then they're going to go and they're going to look and say, okay, these are the people who are making videos about this article on YouTube or on Rumble. So now they have metadata about this article that they did. So they know, okay, this article hits, push it more on these platforms, keep it off of that platform because it's just a waste. Boom. Right there, black people are being turned into a data set for the algorithm so that they can make money. If you don't believe that this is about money, look at white people. Look at conservative white men. There used to be a time where there really was no conservative white male platform. Then all of a sudden Rumble popped up. Rumble popped up and it became a somewhat legitimate contender for the conservative white male audience. What happened a few years later? Well, you can see in 2025 and in 2026, Nick Fuentes, a person who was blacklisted on all platforms, is all of a sudden greenlit. You can bring him on your platform and not get demonetized. If you remember, Fresh and Fit, the guy Myron Gaines, he got demonetized when he brought Nick Fuentes on. Or he brought him on and they didn't demonetize him right away, but then he started doing a bunch of extra stuff. So actually he brought Nick Fuentes on in like 2023, 2024, and he kind of got away with it. Just Pearly Things did the same thing. They didn't get demonetized until they went way across the line. Keep in mind, most people got demonetized if they brought Nick on because he had been deplatformed. Not demonetized, he was completely deplatformed. Now, you can make videos about the guy, you can play his clips, you can react to his clips, you can bring him online. Why? Because it used to be that the white conservative male audience was not exploitable monetarily by the algorithms. There was no market. All of a sudden, there's a market. There's a serious market for that. There's money that can be made off of those people. It's not about what they're going to buy or sell. It's about selling their data. It's all about data exploitation. I'm telling you guys, you have to think bigger, and it's better to think from a monetary standpoint because you want to be able to take action steps. If somebody tells me that me doing this, saying this, going here, going there makes somebody money, and I don't like that person, and if they say, hey man, you're being manipulated to say blah, 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 and it makes these people money, I'm going to say, well, I ain't making no money. I ain't about to make you no money. It's easier to stop a certain set of behaviors when you know you're being exploited for someone else's gain than it is when you simply say, I'm a victim. Y'all are pushing negative stereotypes onto black folks because y'all hate us. It's not about that. When you think from the standpoint of race, you almost always get trapped in that cycle of negativity and you don't become an action taker. Like this guy, he's saying, oh man, these white corporations are pushing this negativity against us. It's sure they're white or otherwise owned, right? But is it because they hate you? I personally choose to look at it from the standpoint of Draymond Green. You remember when Draymond Green was telling Paul Pierce, they don't love you like that. You ain't getting no farewell tour. These people don't love you like that. They don't love you enough to have you on their mind all the time. They are using you as a exploitable data set. They are seeing who's clicking, they're seeing who's liking, they're seeing how much kind of content they can make from this kind of stuff, and they're exploiting that. Everybody's getting exploited. Like I said, liberal white women are getting exploited. Conservative white women. You see the rise of the TradCon. There's a whole market for that. And it's not about what people directly buy and sell. The only people being exploited in terms of buy this, sell that type of stuff are the kids on TikTok. If you go on TikTok, you can only scroll like twice before you see something from TikTok shop being sold. So from the standpoint of e-commerce and trying to exploit people for this or that, yeah, those people, the kids are being exploited. If you play a video game, you play Call of Duty, yeah, sure, they're selling skins. And the way Call of Duty is set up is it's set up to exploit the mind and the personality of the kids who are going to play it. That's what skill-based matchmaking is made for. In case you guys have kids or you play Call of Duty, skill-based matchmaking has nothing to do with playing the game. It has everything to do with the negative, positive feedback loop. It's basic game theory, right? We let you win a game here, you lose the next two. We let you win 2 games here, you lose the next 5. So you're always chasing the next win, right? It's what the casinos use. So I'm not going to go too far into that. But what I'm telling you is, on one hand, yes, 100%, you can say it's race-based if you so choose. I would ask you, do yourself a favor and look at this from the standpoint of finance, look at it from the standpoint of politics. That way it's easier to walk out of that cycle. When you look at it from the standpoint of race, negativity sells. Negativity holds your attention. This is why social media is so negative. Race is the one thing that just charges people up so much. When they want to get women on the apps, when they want to get women into social media, when they want to keep women on the app, what do? They push red pill stuff. Why? Because women engage with it. Kevin Samuels, when he first came out, all of his content was dedicated to men. It was all about holding men accountable. When he was making videos in his car and whatnot, it was all about holding men accountable, and it was all about telling men to level up. And men hated him, and nobody, like, they just didn't watch. The men just tuned out, and he was only getting like 2,500 views per video. Once he switched to women, his views skyrocketed. Why? Because when women are upset, they're going to engage. They will engage with this guy. They stay to hate watch. His entire audience was men who wanted to see women get their comeuppance and women who were hate watching. I hate you. Let me see what you're saying. That's a female trait, but that's a normal human trait, because negative emotions last longer than positive. This is why you don't see a lot of positivity online. If positive stuff sold, you would see more positivity. Negative stuff is easier. Negative stuff sells. And when I say sell, I'm talking about the algorithm. Once again, you are not a black person. You're a data point. There's no black community. There is an urban data point. There's an urban data set. That's what you are. There are no conservative white males. There is a conservative data set. There's no liberal white women. There is a particular female data point or data set. Everybody is broken down into data sets. Now, I know you guys are going to get in the comments and say, well, we don't see this we don't see them doing this to Hispanics. You don't know what they do to Hispanics because you probably don't speak Spanish, and you're probably not deeply entrenched in the Hispanic algorithm on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, whatever. Wherever you're at, you are not tied in to that Hispanic algorithm. You are probably not tied into the Asian algorithm. You remember the Asian girl who was in H Mart, and she was like, I don't like when white people come in here. How did that make it into black people's feed? Because even Asian people were like, it's hilarious that black people are now seeing like Asian Twitter or Asian TikTok, right? So you're not in those Asian algorithms. You're not in the Hispanic algorithms. So you don't know how they get manipulated, right? So don't say that they're only doing that to you. Say, or you should think that this is the particular method of manipulation for my data set, the black data set, and then just walk away from it, right? You shouldn't be paying attention to World Star Hip Hop anyways. So I'm not going to beat this into the ground. I just want you guys to understand, when you see people like Corey Holcomb wanting to go so hard on white people, that's an antiquated thought process. It's not about black. It's not about white. It's about data sets. And I know somebody's going to get in here and say, well, he was talking about historically. We don't care about historically. We don't care about who has done black people the worst or who has messed up America the worst historically, because we have to move forward. You live in the past. What are you going to get? You're not going to get anything. You can't change the past. You have to move forward now. That's the other reason why I tell you, stop thinking with this traditional black mindset of, well, we would be better off if white people hadn't. Well, you can't change that. You can't change that. Move forward. Stop being a victim. It is what it is. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do the whole thing. Hit that notification bell and get at me on the next one. Peace.